in recent years, there have been 157 self-immolations inside Tibet by Tibetan boys, Tibetan girls, Tibetan monks, Tibetan nuns. And every one of them, while he or she was dying, what they were asking? Freedom for Tibet, and we want Dalai Lama to come back. So then they realized that the influence of Dalai Lama cannot go. Even in this third generation, whose forefathers have not seen Dalai Lama or his rule, even they love Dalai Lama. So that is why they want the next reincarnation of Dalai Lama to be in their hands.
Hello, this is Strat News Global. You are on The Gist, and I'm Tripti Nath. Our guest today is Mr. Vijay Kranti, a noted Tibetologist, a journalist, and a China expert. Mr. Kranti has worked in very coveted places in a career spanning over 50 years. He's worked with BBC Radio, Deutsche Welle, Doordarshan, I think I've lost count, Aaj Tak, and many, many other places. He's also worked for BBC TV, and I must say that, must mention that he has authored 14 books, including a coffee table book on the Dalai Lama, who he has known for over half a century. In fact, he's one of the oldest associates of the Dalai Lama in India, and he's interviewed the Dalai Lama over 20 times. So we can't find a person better than Mr. Kranti to tell us what is going on between Tibet and China and India's role in between. So let's begin by asking you about Nancy Pelosi's visit, which is right on the top of people's mind right now.
Yeah.
She's a former House Speaker, as we all know, and she was in Dharamshala in the northern Indian state of Himachal Pradesh recently for a meeting with the Dalai Lama as part of a congressional delegation, and she made very, very aggressive remarks there, right? And so I'd like to quote what she said, and which has sparked off a lot of criticism. And she said, and I quote, "While the Dalai Lama, with his massive knowledge, compassion, purity of thought, and love, will live a long time, and his legacy will live forever, the president of China, Xi Jinping, will be gone, and nobody will give you credit for anything." How do you interpret Nancy Pelosi's remarks, which are very, very bold?
Yeah, I would say that surely these remarks look controversial, no doubt. But when such remarks come from a person of the stature of Nancy Pelosi, who has a very long experience of dealing with China, then I don't think anybody should criticize. One can agree or disagree, but she understands China so well, and especially after seeing Xi Jinping's, the way he has been working, the way he has been behaving, almost like a bully to various governments, to various people, organizations across the world. I think she was in one way fair in explaining the contradiction or the contrast between Dalai Lama and Xi Jinping. The way she explains the Dalai Lama, a person who personifies peace and a good communicator, all those things. Whereas on the other side, Xi Jinping he has been, the moment you talk of or think of Xi Jinping, you immediately go to a person who is a bully. So, in my opinion, Nancy Pelosi has defined this contradiction or this contrast between Dalai Lama and Xi Jinping in a very perfect way. It's a different matter that in diplomacy it's not a very common way of saying it.
Right. But what is also very interesting and surprising is that not only have they pushed aside the Chinese warning before the delegation went and met the Dalai Lama, they have openly criticized Xi Jinping. So it's a very defiant kind of an attitude.
You know, this also, let us see why this is happening. We should see how, where the things are, the direction things are taking in international affairs, especially in relations between America and China. For past few years, China is very aggressive on America, and they have made it very, very clear that they want to displace America from its superpower position and take over that position. And in doing that, you know, the way China has been behaving, or Xi Jinping, the kind of language or gestures they have been using, there is very good reason for America to be provoked. And this particular delegation, you
mean
Nancy,
for China to be provoked?
Yes, Nancy Pelosi is one of the members, you know, and the leader of delegation is is the chairman of the House Foreign Committee. This delegation's level is very, I would say, and their timing of coming to India and meeting the Dalai Lama is very, very crucial. You know, they are coming immediately after passing a resolution, you know, a resolution on Resolve Tibet, the 2024, that is the resolution. After passing it with unanimity, almost unanimity, which is very unique in a democracy like America, where Republicans and Democrats, you find them fighting on every small thing, every small issue. But this is an issue where they both agree, and they pass resolution. First, the resolution was passed in February this year at House of Representatives. Then in June, it was passed by the Senate, which made a small change, and then it goes back to House of Representatives. They passed it. Every time it was unanimous, and immediately after House of Representatives passed this bill to make, you know, then it will become a law, they have come immediately to India. I say this timing is very crucial. Number one, after the resolution. Number two, after Modi government has taken over third time. They are the first people to enter. And thirdly, what is important is, in my opinion, that the way they have come to see the Dalai Lama and the visual impact of their visit, that is very outstanding. It sends so many messages to the world that the things are going to change on Tibet, and the whole syntax of politics and is going to change. So this is very significant.
Mr. Kranti, you would have noticed that, of course, Nancy Pelosi is a sworn enemy of China, we all know. And she has, her remarks have sparked off criticism on social media. I chanced upon some comments where people are saying, why did the Indian government allow the US lawmakers to come to India and make these anti-China utterances? Do you think India is playing the Tibet card?
See, one thing before I comment on the main question. When you said that there was criticism on the social media, let's not forget, social media is not an independent or a very innocent kind of platform. It is a very, very manipulated and influenced platform. You know, a set of platforms where China is spending more money than the total publicity budget of Indian government and American government put together. They are spending more money.
So everything is orchestrated.
Yeah, it is orchestrated. Now, because yesterday I saw one very senior journalist, you know, putting the same question on Twitter, asking why the Indian government should have done it. So I had to very politely ask her, did you ask the same question when the Chinese president invited Pakistani Prime Minister to Beijing, and both of them made a common statement against India on Kashmir? Isn't it that situation?
Clearly premeditated.
So all these comments are influenced and promoted by certain sectors, and one of the major sectors of those influencers and sponsors is China. So I don't think these comments should be taken seriously. Prime Minister Modi is Prime Minister of India. He has got respectable guests to his office, and both are democracies. Both have right to discuss any subject on the earth. So if Modi welcomes them, I think it's a tradition of India to welcome the guests. And I personally feel that this gesture of Prime Minister Modi inviting the American delegation to his office, and you see the visual just behind them,
Right,
the
I was
flags
about to
of
come to
India
it
and
here.
America, and they were, you know,
And he also took to X to announce the visit
yes.
and the
So,
cordial handshake and everything
this was
we
necessary.
saw. Right.
Rather, we should be, if I can use the term, happy that a government of India, which has been playing timid, if I can use the term rightly, Indian government has been playing timid right from the day when China attacked Tibet in 1949 and 50, and the way our governments, previous governments, have been, eating out of Chinese hands and repeating whatever they wanted to say. So there is a big change. I welcome it. Indian government, we first time see that the Indian government
Change
is
in the last 10 years?
yes, it's a positive sign, I think.
And so you think that the cordial atmosphere in which the meeting was held with the Prime Minister is some kind of a sign to China?
Sure. It is sign to China. It is a sign to the world. Let us see how the things are moving. The whole world has been waiting for last 70 years that somebody should take initiative on Tibet. Not a single country in the world was happy what was happening inside Tibet. None of the countries approved the kind of atrocities China has been committing on the people of Tibet and the social system there. Nobody ever appreciated it, but nobody had the courage to challenge China. And especially after Xi Jinping took over, nobody had the desire, nobody had the courage, nobody had the guts to do it.
On.
So now things are changing, and I see the American resolution, this resolution and the previous two resolutions of 2002 and 2020, and this third resolution, they are a sign that world has started thinking more clearly on Tibet and about China, and this is a first sign, and things are changing.
Right. So the Dalai Lama is scheduled to travel to the United States in a few days from now, and do you think that President Biden will sign the Resolve Tibet Act, which has generated a lot of optimism, which urges Beijing to re-engage with the Dalai Lama and other Tibetan leaders to peacefully resolve their dispute over the status and governance of Tibet?
One part is whether he will sign. The issue is the Congress has passed these resolutions in both houses, and they were passed by the party of the president, Democrats, and the party of opposition. Both have done it together. So president knows what is happening, and he is going to sign it. We saw it later, previously in the 2020, the Tibet Policy Support Act of 2020 when it was passed. Could you see the alacrity with which the then president, the Republican president, he signed this resolution. The resolution was passed a little before the Christmas, and immediately after the Christmas, the first thing the president did was sign that bill, make it an act. It becomes a part of the American Constitution. So same thing I am seeing, but here I can predict. I can I can foresee that President Biden may have deliberately held it till the day when Dalai Lama is there and he celebrates his next birthday, because on 6th July is Dalai Lama's 89th birthday.
Right.
So it may be a very symbolic gesture on the part of America and American president that he signs the bill on that day, which will add, a lot of value to the content of this bill.
Right, but I think we also know that this symbolism can never translate to isolating China because it's too big.
Maybe I would like to disagree with you a little that it will not translate. You can say it may or may not. But seeing the situation today, there are far more chances that this resolution is going to make a big change. For example, in previous years, there were very, very rare occasions when world governments would take a bold stand on Tibet, would say something very frankly to the Chinese government. They would not do it.
They thought it was not their business.
No, they were afraid
Couldn't
of
muster
China.
the courage to.
They didn't have the courage. Not that they were not aware of what is happening inside Tibet or inside East Turkestan, what China calls Xinjiang, or in South Mongolia. All these three colonies of China have been suffering, and the whole world knows what is happening, but they never had the courage. But now when this bill is passed, and the overall ecosystem in the world, what you are seeing today, I can see that this is start what you call a ripple effect, a
Cascading effect.
cascading effect. And we saw the other day, this lower house of Canada, they have passed a very similar resolution.
Right.
And you will see very soon it will start, and maybe the next step will be in European Parliament.
Right. So you told me recently that, in your opinion, the United States is trying to internationalize the issue because China is challenging its supremacy.
Yes.
How would you qualify this observation?
See, in Buddhism they call cause and effect. That is the basic principle, how the world is running.
Yeah, Lobsang Sangye talked about
Every
karmic
Buddhist
effect.
will
Yes,
tell you
right.
that whatever is happening in the world is actually in that process called cause and effect. Something happens, then the effect of it will cause something next, and that will cause another thing. China has been behaving very, very erratic in recent years. If you see the history of China, there is a very systematic change happening. In Mao's lifetime, they removed the capitalist government. He brought in communism. And in his later years, after he succeeded, he, through cultural revolution and other things, or the Great Leap Forward, he saw to it that any person or any power which could challenge, number one, communism in China again, or his own authority again, they were all destroyed very systematically through cultural revolution. He made the Red Guards finish every single comrade who worked with him, but he had no faith in them. They were all destroyed. So Mao Zedong prepared a secure ground for communism. The later leaders of China, they took it ahead. Deng Xiaoping brought a revolutionary change. He married the system with capitalism, made China rich, made China powerful, and now once China is rich and powerful, the next job, then Xi Jinping has taken over to bully the world, to occupy the whole system. This is what he is doing, and he is behaving like a rogue. That is very unfortunate. He is not doing it, smartly. So he has created so much of reaction. So this cause and effect is that he started with America. He wants to pull down America from its supreme position, and America is not going to take it lightly. So now America has realized finally that it has to fight back China. It needs now friends for that, because America can't do it alone. That's why you see their, what you call honeymoon with democratic countries like India, Australia, Japan, South Korea. That is why they are doing it. And
right. So on the million-dollar question of reincarnation, how do you look at China's constant interference in asserting that they will select the Dalai Lama's successor? Could you enlighten us on the traditional procedure? Because this is the 14th Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
And I think the tradition,
500 years old,
goes
yeah,
back to
yeah.
700 or 800 years.
Yeah.
So how is it normally done? I think from what I understand from what Lobsang Sangye said, yesterday at an event is that this is a regent who appoints.
Yeah, I'll tell you, besides the
Dalai Lama.
procedure, let us first come to the basic question, why China is interested in Dalai Lama's reincarnation. The same China, the same Chinese Communist Party who have announced always that religion is poison of the people, of masses, who are anti-religion, who have destroyed every religion inside China, including the Christianity, the Islam and Buddhism in a very, very massive way. They have been doing it. You know, they have destroyed Tibet specifically in a really wild manner. And after doing that, after being so abusive on Dalai Lama that he is a monk, he is a wolf in the garb of, no, he is a wolf
Cloak.
in the garb of monk's robes. That kind of abusive language. If you are doing it, then why do you need the incarnation of Dalai Lama? I'll explain why they need it. After China occupied in 1959, then they initially Mao Zedong believed that the Tibetans will be very happy, we'll give them promises and of prosperity, etc. And then they will follow us and they will make good citizens. But then he realized that people were not happy. So then he took the step of destroying. He discovered that their faith in religion and Dalai Lama was keeping them off the communist, love for communism party. So then they tried to destroy both. Dalai Lama had to run for his life to India.
Right.
They destroyed every monastery. They disrobed, thousands and thousands of monks and nuns, and burnt their libraries,
Destroyed
everything.
their monasteries, yeah.
So Mao was thinking that a Tibetan minus Buddhism and his faith in Dalai Lama is equal to a very patriotic Chinese citizen. This is how he was thinking, and he destroyed religion. But when the Tibetan uprising of 1987 and 1989, which the leaders in Beijing were shocked that Tibetans are so unhappy against the Chinese rule. So then they sat down and analyzed and found that they have failed in destroying religion. So then they took a new policy of occupying Tibetan religion from within. So this was the next stage. And one of that part was that grab all those positions, all those senior tulkus, those senior incarnate lamas who influence people's opinion. So then they started imposing the new incarnations on Tibetan people.
Right.
They did it with Panchen Lama, they did it with Karmapa, and we all know. Karmapa ran away finally, in 1999, New Year, the last day. He ran away to India. Panchen Lama, the Chinese arrested the young boy, 5-year-old, and his parents, and imposed a boy of their choice. And he's of no use to them. So now they want Dalai Lama because they have discovered the influence of Dalai Lama is so big. You see, in recent years, there have been 157 self-immolations inside Tibet by Tibetan boys, Tibetan girls, Tibetan monks, Tibetan nuns. And every one of them, while he or she was dying, what they were asking? Freedom for Tibet, and we want Dalai Lama to come back. So then they realized that the influence of Dalai Lama cannot go. Even in this third generation, whose forefathers have not seen Dalai Lama or his rule, even they love Dalai Lama. So that is why they want the next reincarnation of Dalai Lama to be in their hands.
But it is very reassuring that the US lawmakers delegation that was here said that they will try to counter any influence of China in selecting the Dalai Lama. That's very reassuring. So moving on to the next question, we've already touched upon it a little, but you mentioned the motion passed by the Canadian House of Commons before the US thing
No, after
came.
that,
This time.
Immediately
after that, okay. Stand corrected. So this motion, which kind of declares the Tibetans' right to self-determination, has given a boost, along with the US resolution. What I want to understand is this some kind of an indication that the Tibet issue is gradually picking pace in the international arena.
Yeah.
It is.
As I said, that after America, we have seen Canada doing it, Canadian Parliament
Right,
doing it.
right.
And I can visualize that very soon. European Parliament, which has already a history of being pro-Tibet. It has history. In 1999, they came out with a very big resolution and they gave deadline to an ultimatum to China: if you don't start talking to Dalai Lama to find the mutually agreeable solution, in 3 years, we will ask our government to recognize Dalai Lama's government as real government of Tibet. So it was only after that that in 2002, just before the ultimatum was expiring, China started talking to Dalai Lama. It's a different thing. They misused that talks to fortify their own position, and the dialogue failed later on. But they are afraid of. Let us not forget the Communist Party of China and its leader Xi Jinping are afraid of the international opinion. They say they don't care about it, but they are very afraid of it. And you can see that whatever now you see the new elections which are going on in the European Union, European Parliament. The kind of people who are coming are rightists. So we can see a new, energy and of European Parliament to focus on all those points on which China feels very vulnerable, whether it is Tibet, whether it is Xinjiang, whether it is South Mongolia, whether it is Hong Kong or Taiwan.
Since you've been tracking Tibet issues for so long, almost 5 decades plus, do you see a resolution of the Tibet issue in the Dalai Lama's lifetime?
I don't have a very specific answer to that because, only God knows how long present Dalai Lama lives. I wish him a long life, but he is an individual. So, what you call the dharma of human body applies on him also. But one thing is there, I can see all the signs, the ecosystem which keeps a movement alive.
All the forces of the universe are
now those forces are adding up. Rather, I see the graph going in the right direction.
Okay.
So it may take 5 years, 10 years, and as somebody said it, when Xi Jinping came out with a very nasty statement about Dalai Lama, and there was a very, very interesting answer. They say that, Mr. Xi Jinping, maybe you and your Communist Party will not survive as long as Dalai Lama survives.
Only 100 years old.
He might outlive.
So my last question to you is that I would like to know from you, how much has the Dalai Lama changed in the last 52 years when you last met him, and how much has Dharamshala changed?
Oh, one thing I can say very easily, he was very young when I met him. I met him first time in 1972, very young and very energetic. And over the time, slowly, age has been catching up with him. But still, I find his wit, his humor, his alertness on issues and about people is still alive. He is a man, even at this age. I have seen him a couple of times. I had a chance to travel with him in the same aeroplane.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I could see people in the aeroplane going, and he would sit in the front economic seat. And people would go and see him, and he will shake hands, touch their beard, or make them feel comfortable. And people will come happy. Oh, I have a friend now, Dalai Lama. And I have noticed that every time he goes anywhere, and especially when he was in an aeroplane, when I came out, I told somebody, see, he has left a plane load of friends behind.
Yeah.
So he does every time.
He has very endearing qualities.
That quality is alive. And then he is very smart. What he has done when he saw his age is catching up, China wants to occupy the institution of Dalai Lama. In 2011, he very smartly, he make a statesman move, a classic master stroke. He separated the political powers of Dalai Lama and spiritual.
Right.
So he now holds spiritual powers. If China, suppose China occupies Dalai Lama's institution, then everybody knows it is only the spiritual powers which the Communist Party doesn't need. The political powers rest with his elected representatives, the Central Tibetan administration in Dharamsala, the elected parliamentarians, the elected Sikyong who is president. So he has given an infinite shelf life to the Tibetan system and to the Tibetan struggle.
Interesting. How much has Dharamshala changed?
Oh, it has changed drastically.
Really?
First time in 1972 when I finished my work and I wanted to come down, the last bus had left from there, for
see.
Lower Dharamsala. And I asked somebody, is there any taxi? So somebody told me, in those days I used to earn hardly 150 rupees per month. And somebody said, yes, there is a taxi, Lower Dharamsala, he will charge you 500 rupees. So I ran all the distance. And now Dharamsala has every day traffic jam because of more cars than the road can accommodate. More tourists, more people coming there, too much of construction. It has become a jungle of concrete, but still spiritually very rich, socially very rich, very interesting, very colorful.
So thank you so much, Mr. Kranti, for giving us a bird's eye view on the Tibetan issues and
Thank
all
you.
the burning issues around it. To our viewers, please do send in your feedback for this interview that we've had with Mr. Kranti. You may also like to follow all our social media handles for the latest that we put out on our website or interviews like this on YouTube. This is Strat News Global and I'm Tripti Nath.